Thank you all very much for joining us today for the Energy Efficiency Using LED Lighting webinar brought to you by the Ameren, Illinois Act on Energy program. I'm Mary Benson, and I work with the Ameren, Illinois Act on Energy program. And today I am here with some great speakers on LED lighting, national presenters. Bryce, who is Senior Program Manager with the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. Rick Holmes, who's the Director of the Lighting Research Center with the Midwest Energy Efficiency Resource Consortium. Yolit Hebert, who is the Energy Program Engineer with SAIC, which is an Ameren, Illinois Act on Energy partner. Real quick, before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and go over just a couple of quick practical items. I wanted to ask if there's more than one person watching this webinar with you in a conference room, if you could please let me know by typing the number of people who are in the room with you. If you're there by yourself, there's no need to send me the number of people. And also, if you'd like the links to the recorded webinar and the handout for this session afterwards, then I do have everyone's email address, but if you do have more than one person in the room with you, if you'd like to put their email addresses in chat, I will send the links directly to them as well. I want to let you know that I will be sending you the recorded online training event and the handouts, and be available within the next couple of days on our Act on Energy website on the Education and Training page. Also, if you do have any questions during the session, if you could please type those to chat, and we will answer those for you as we go along. And this session is going to last about 60 minutes. Now, I am going to give you a quick quiz to find out what you already know about energy efficiency for LED lighting. So if you could please participate. It is optional, but if you would like, please answer these questions and then click submit, and you'll have about a minute to answer the questions. For participating in the quiz. I'm going to go ahead and close down the quiz. So please submit your answers if you haven't already. I'm going to close that in 3, 2, 1. Now, I'm not going to go over the correct answers with you at this time. We're going to take the same quiz at the end to see how much you learned, and I'll go over the correct answers at that time. I will, however, share the responses so you can see what everyone else answered at this time and compare the most popular answer to your own answer. So I'll share those poll results with you now. And you can see answers compared. Thank you very much for participating. The topics that our presenters are going to be covering today, and at time, I am going to introduce Brian Sleboda, Like I said, he's a senior program manager with the National Rural Electric Association. Thank you very much for joining us today, Brian. Welcome.
Thanks, Mary. I'm honored to have this opportunity to share some of our results with some of your customers. So, to give a bit of a, have you given me control?
Oh, I will control right now.
Okay, thank you. So, a little bit of background. Co-ops are in 47 states. We're electric utilities that are owned by the customers that we serve. And we have conducted a series of field trials on LED lighting over the last couple of years. I'm going to share those results with everyone. Really, a lot of our focus was not only on the WH savings and the power quality savings, which is of interest to utilities, also on the focus groups. Really wanted to see what every folks thought about this change in lighting. LEDs are a disruptive technology. They're a very drastic departure from conventional lighting, and a lot of consumers really have a gut reaction when they see changes in lighting. We saw that when the industry went over to CFLs a few years ago, and still today, many consumers really dislike CFLs. So by doing a lot of pilot tests, we're hoping to avoid the same problems that we saw with CFLs. And then on some time focusing on our agricultural studies. That's one area that's been of extreme interest to us since we serve a lot of rural areas. We're at 8 tests around the country, and the logos of the electric cooperatives that we worked with. So we had tests in Ohio, Indiana, Minnesota, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. And each test, we partnered with one of our electric co-ops and often with one of their end-use customers. And the entire test was overseen from a technical perspective by a company called Outsourced Innovation, which is located outside of Chicago. So, of course, of the 8 test sites, we had 84 different fixtures representing 10 different manufacturers. And one of the things that's important to remember about LED manufacturers is that some of the traditional lighting companies, such as GE, Sylvania, and Philips, they do make LED products, but a lot of the LED products are from companies that you probably have never heard of. They're from smaller companies, startup companies, and really in some respects we see a lot of innovation coming out of the smaller companies. They often have names that are, as with startups these days, names can tend to be a little goofy, but they are producing products that tend to be pretty good. And in fact, in some of our tests, they were actually better than some of the much larger manufacturers. So in the LED test program, we looked at the traditional parking lots, street lights. We also looked at the lobby of a college down in Tennessee, as well as one of their classrooms. And then also we looked at dairy and swine. For the big test, pretty simple. Light was monitored for consumption, power quality, and light output. We had the utilities installed dent meters and sub-metered the LED lights, and also sub-metered whatever the traditional lighting was, whether it was metal halide or high-pressure sodium. Then we also did light meter readings at certain intervals of usage. Focus groups were a cross-section of folks from the community. They were all given a questionnaire to fill out and received a little bit of education on the front end. And generally, in our tests, LEDs were the most preferred. In fact, on this screen, you can see that in many instances, LEDs were almost universally preferred compared to traditional lighting. One exception was in the classroom in Tennessee, a small college in Tennessee. The students felt that the LEDs were dim. And in fact, one student described it as being chill. Then I realized how old I was because I had no clue what he meant by chill. The only folks that could not really give the feedback were the cows and the pigs, but since they were fairly silent on it, we felt that they liked the lights. And it is important to note that, for example, in parking lot number 1, my slide says LEDs were preferred to mercury vapor 99% to 1%. Different manufacturers at each of those sites, and there were significant differences in the customer opinions of LEDs from different manufacturers. you're going to see that as a rule of thumb, not all LEDs are the same. Not all LEDs are created equally. There's going to be differences from one manufacturer to another in terms of light output, where it throws the light down on the ground, in terms of glare. So it really is important to test products from different manufacturers when you're evaluating going over to LED or whatever lighting options you're looking at. The other thing that's interesting to note on our outdoor, so the parking lot and the street lights, we found that older consumers, those tend to be 60, 65 or older, really preferred more of a yellow light, which really flies in the face of most research, because most research shows that folks prefer whiter light because it's a more natural light. But when during focus groups with the seniors, why they prefer the yellow light, and the answer was pretty simple. They almost universally said that's what light is supposed to look like. Simply accustomed to the yellow light that's been out there traditionally. So if going over into a street or a parking lot, you may get some resistance from some of the older folks in the area. Let's focus a little bit on a couple of our agricultural demonstration sites. One was at a dairy ranch down in Oklahoma, and you see some before and after pictures here. Over on the left-hand side is metal halide fixtures. You can see it's a fairly yellow light. Over on the right with the LEDs, it's more of a brighter, wider light. This is interesting to note is that we were not able to match the lumen output of the metal halide, but we really didn't need to. An area that is open to some interpretation. There's some folks that say you need to do a lumen for lumen replacement. During our research, we have found that you can actually use less lumens, get a little bit of a cheaper product because of that, and still have an equal amount or amount of usable light. And if you look at the two pictures there, you can see that the area on the right is fairly well lit. Now, the dairy project, we had three major goals. We wanted to measure the energy usage, but we also wanted to look at worker satisfaction. Since dairy cows are milked around the clock, the workers on this farm are in the barns at night, and are looking at the ear tags, and they are looking at clipboards, so they need some light that can help them do their job. And we monitored the animals' health. We worked with Oklahoma State University to monitor the animals' health to make sure there was nothing wrong. Cows can be a little disturbed by light. You really want the light to focus down on the feed trough so they can get maximum food, also maximum milk production. Subject results. We did 10 LED fixtures on one side of the barn. The other side of the barn remained metal halide, and not allow the cows to go from one area to the other. The cows were segregated into either an LED section or the metal halide. Energy savings were right as we expected, 55% energy savings. Very interesting was the 30% increase in illumination, even though we dropped down in actual lumens produced. And it's because the LEDs were able to focus the light better on the ground. Based on these results, this particular dairy operation would see about a 4-year payback based on energy savings and reduced maintenance. It's important to factor in the cost of reduced maintenance. In this instance, reduced maintenance cost is very important. It's not easy to get a ladder into the stalls. You have to move the cows out of the way. It does take about 3 people to do it because the cows will come over and tip the ladder over. We would present a juror to the employee at the top of that ladder. Now, the animal study we did was at a swine farrowing facility. If you're not familiar with farrowing barns, this is where the mama pig gives birth to her baby pigs, which makes lighting very, very critical. Mother Nature's in play here. Mother Nature says that animals should only give birth in the spring because that's when animals have the greatest chance of survival. So you have to lighting scheme in the facility to replicate spring. Otherwise, you could have some miscarriages with the sows. Again, with the dairy site, we looked at energy usage, power quality. In this instance, the Operator was using CFLs, which have a fairly lousy power factor, and utilities tend not to like that. LEDs promise better power quality, and we're looking at worker satisfaction. In this instance, they're not trying to read ear tags. Happens in a dim area, they'll bang their shins on the crates. That hurts, as we all know when we bang our shins. Here's the before and after picture. And when I show people this picture, they look at the before picture over here on the left and say, well, Brian, that is so much brighter. And I agree, it's 100% brighter, especially if you have your pigs walking around the ceiling. What you're seeing here on the left side is a lot of reflection of the CFLs sending light out in every direction, and it's reflecting on the metal roof. What you see on the right is the LED, and the LED is sending the light straight down. Cells tend to have a pretty decent lifespan, but in this instance, because the facility needs to be clean, pigs really do like to live in a clean environment. The owner and operator has to wash the facility down, and that means he's placed plastic covers over the CFLs. That traps heat into the CFL, and he was seeing CFL life of 30 to 60 days. So about every 2 months, he has to replace the CFL. The LEDs that we place into his facility are water resistant. They're designed for this sort of application, and they can be washed down and still retain their life. So here's another before and after picture, and you can see that the LEDs are sending their light straight down where it's actually usable light. It's not being wasted on the ceiling. The project results, we replaced 30 CFLs with 15-watt LEDs. It take a lot of science there to see that we had a 50% energy savings. The employees really preferred the LEDs. They thought it was less glare. They thought that the LED was less harsh, and they were able to see the crates better. Very important factor for this operator is that there are no disposal issues with the LED. Cells obviously have to be disposed of in a safe manner because they do contain mercury. He's very happy to get the mercury bulbs out of his facility and using something that's more sustainable. Payback period was a little bit longer than what we had hoped for. It was a 7-year payback period, but this operator was very pleased with the fact that he did not have to worry about disposal because he was in a fairly rural area and had to travel a decent distance to go to a facility to dispose of his CFLs in an environmentally sound manner. Lessons learned from our study are pretty simple. Focus group was key in each of our sites, whether it was streets or parking lots. Getting the opinion of people was key. You look at the LEDs and the technical specifications, they can all start to look alike. Energy savings is energy savings. But what's all in most of our instances when we had competing products from different LED vendors is that there were folks who would prefer one LED vendor to another. And just one quick story at the street that we in Minnesota, the focus group was so helpful. They said vendor A would be good at an intersection in the downtown area. Vendor B would be really good on a residential street, and vendor C would be good at the street in the downtown. So there were significant differences between the different products. Payback is extremely important for everyone, for utilities as well as commercial customers and residential customers. But you can't discount the societal benefits, especially if you're looking at going from something like a CFL, such as our swine facility, where they had some disposal issues. He wanted to have a sustainable practice. Now learn some more about our different research sites. We actually get down into some finer detail about which products we tested and the focus group results of particular products. You can look at our YouTube channel, and the link is there. So I believe we're holding questions to the end, if I remember correctly. So now I'm very happy to turn the phone over to Rick Holmes. Rick is the director of the Lighting Research Center with the Midwest Energy Efficiency Research Consortium. Rick, go away.
Thank you very much, Brian. Everyone can hear me, and I'd like to thank everybody for coming in today for the webinar. And start out by talking about what I'll be speaking today on. It's basically the overview of the Midwest Lighting Research Center, trained for some lighting technicians, a personal agriculture experience that I had with poultry, and talk about some practical outdoor and indoor LED fixtures that I see coming across my desk at the center there. A little bit about the future of LEDs and what people are saying. The goals of the Lighting Research Center are, well, what I'd say, energy efficiency, energy efficiency, energy efficiency. So, time I'm thinking about that, but we want to advance energy efficiency in the Midwest, and we will be using the resources of the University of Missouri to be able to do that. We want to be able to collaborate with other organizations, such as that are into sustainable technical processes, energy efficiency. We want to increase knowledge and understanding of energy efficiency across the board. We want to assist energy efficiency business development. A lot of young entrepreneur type companies out there that are developing energy efficiency products and services, and we want to be able to assist them. We want business and industry to advance energy efficiency technology wherever they might be. Kind of out here to give the Research Center overview. We are actually 6 centers at the University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri. We have cultural energy efficiency, we have lighting, we have the high performance buildings, energy solutions and services, wastewater, and low energy heating and cooling. And the director of the Lighting Technology Center, I have access to all of these areas of expertise. Some of this we'll be doing is working with business and industry, of course, and other universities. We contacted the 7 states surrounding Missouri, plan to do more. The universities that are located in each of those. We'll be working with national associations like the NRECA with Brian. And then, of course, each state has energy efficiency centers, so we'd like to work with them, as with the Small Business Development Center, even on a national basis. And, of course, utilities. We have the support of many utilities already, and it's very encouraging because they're in energy efficiency big time, and we want to be able to collaborate. Some of the expertise area that we'd like to get into is we'd be able to emulate the energy savings of the DOE site lighting technology roadmap. Now, this is something that a lot of technical information comes across, and we want to be able to stay up to date with it and be able to the latest LEDs and the most qualified LEDs that will work. We'd like to work with workplace productivity improvements, that being office settings or even in processes at factories, wherever the case might be for productivity. Agriculture, production and processing improvements. Already kind of started working with Brian and the NRECA, a little bit of collaborating to be able to different LEDs processes in the in production for livestock, and we will to collaborate in such a way that we can standardize across different universities, standardize the protocol for testing. That's very important. It's nice we have onesie-twosies and they show up and stuff, and I'll relate that in my agricultural in just a second. But it's true that if we can get this protocol testing to where we predict pretty much what's going to happen when we put LEDs in the livestock arena. This is the focus of our center, so to speak. We're going to be looking at utilities, hospitals, schools, and industries, and across those we'll be looking for pilots, field demonstrations, and energy efficiency retrofits, and we've started that. And we're still pretty young yet, and we're looking for these opportunities. Our status is we're looking at affiliate recruitment, where we look at associations, gas utilities, manufacturers, end-use customers, people that want to work with us on different, research development or even of any sort. We're looking for collaborative projects with school districts. We are already working with a generation transmission utility in the Midwest. It covers 3 states. And of course, we're planning on having education and training opportunities. The education focus is going to be on lighting workshops, of course, seminars, webinars, and conferences, and for architects and engineers, contractors, end-use customers, utilities, and industry groups. And we're currently also working on a undergraduate and graduate program development that will work. Students will be able to actually pick up a degree of energy efficiency. Coming soon, and I'm kind of excited about it, is the fact that we have technical certification training, combine lectures and labs and training for electrical contractors, architects, engineers, design property owners for LED lighting controls. It's aimed at increasing the use of lighting controls in commercial facilities. Trains and certifies on installation, testing, commissioning, and maintenance of advanced lighting systems. The LEDs are one thing to put them in, and we know we're going to get energy efficiency out of them. But the next step is the lighting controls that come with it. LEDs can be easily controlled, but some of the systems are kind of complex, and we're planning on having this type of training for the technician. The upcoming webinar events we have is greenhouse lighting and energy efficiency, advanced lighting controls introduction, adaptive lighting concepts, and photometric and colorimetric fundamentals. Just to name a few. Cultural experience I have to relate to everybody is I'm not a farmer, but I was working for a utility in the Midwest, and I was called to by a farmer to come out and look at this 22,000 head turkey barn, and I'd like to be able to save some energy. And of course, I went to LEDs right off the bat, and worked real well. And I have to admit to you that as a utility person, one of the first things in your mind is, okay, how to get them to save energy. That's the whole focus of what you're trying to do. And the energy efficiency, we saved roughly 50% kilowatt hours on this particular barn. There are 22,000 turkeys in there, and it was quite an experience for me because I'd never been around anything like this in my life. But well, it was about 2 months after we put the lights in, the farmer called me back and called and he says, "Rick, I got some news here. You know what?" He says, "There's things happening with these LEDs that are kind of unexpected. It's never happened before." Of course, I'm a little worried as a utility person. You think, well, I've recommended these LEDs. Now, what are these turkeys doing? Well, that his pharmaceuticals, the vitamins and all the things that they give turkeys through a special system was down. They're not using as much of it, and that confused me. Then also the mortality rate had dropped also almost 50%. I understand that turkeys are very aggressive and they tend to have a pecking order, and they will kill each other if whatever conditions are right. And so I found out that the mortality rate had dropped 50%, and I kept thinking, well, wonder what's going on. And then, of course, when he said that they were growing a little bit faster because they were moving from barn to barn and from one stage of the year about a week to 10 days faster than they normally do. I thought, well, you know, all the above, this must be a good thing, right? So I told him maybe we should do a second barn, and we did, and we had the same effect. And one of the reasons why we want to be able to work with other universities to be able to standardize the testing protocol, to be able to document what's actually happening to these animals when we put LEDs in there. And we know that there's some good things that come out of it. We want to be able to replicate that on a universal basis. So that's an ag story, so to speak. To talk a little bit, too, about some products seeing out in the Midwest that seem to be kind of taking off and in the rural areas, and that's this outdoor dawn-to-dusk LED barn light, so to speak. This is an Area Max, it's called, by Luma. It's a 4-watt LED replacing up to 200 watt with a ballast. Excuse me. And the prices are around $200 to $250, depending on where you get it. And it's 1,000 hours. And I don't know if you've run barn lights or dusk to dawn, but these things are kind of high maintenance. They don't have really good lighting. And these units that are coming in now are very full. In fact, they have, you can from the ground. It has a remote to it, and you can dim it, or you can turn it on and off, and that works for me. I like things with remotes. So it's got a dark sky friendly option on it if you like, so that you don't see the light so much that really flashes down, lights down. In this particular model too, it's 35 to 80% energy savings, which is pretty darn good, and it can replace mercury vapor and also metal halide, either way. A co-head for street light. And it's something that we see is coming, pretty rapidly across the scene, all the way across the Midwest. And it's a 53 watt to 168 watt LED, and it replaces the high pressure sodium, the 100 to 400. And this one is 20 years. And price is not too bad, $200 to $500 depending on size. And they're very easy to put on the pole. You just take the other head off and put this one on. It's quick. And I can tell you that, with a lifetime of 20 years, when you look at these lights and want to purchase them, make sure you always look at the gates and all the companies that are producing these things. To mention a couple of things about indoor and outdoor light bulbs. When I do these, I think mostly indoor, but a lot of times these can be used outdoor also. If you go to Home Depot or perhaps the big box stores, Lowe's, you'll see the lights typically in the different shelves and what have you. Now, working with the center, of course, I have big attention to these big box stores, and I tend to watch the different, like when I started looking at these LEDs, they had very small shelf space, very little variety, and the price were $60 to $80 for these little bulbs. And as time progressed, the LED shelves are gaining in size, and the incandescent and the fluorescents are shrinking. And so something's going on here as far as demand. That 2 watt equivalent on the left is on what day you go, but typically weekends they have specials on these lights, and I've seen them as low as on a 60 watt or $10 to purchase that. So the time is changing, so to speak, on these lights. Something to mention to the participants is the fact that when you go anywhere to look at the LEDs, yes, we'd always look at, okay, we have a 100 watt bulb puts out, or we know what a 28 watt linear fluorescent puts out. We have a feeling for it and we're experienced with it. But when you look at these LEDs, and I watch this whenever I go on the weekends to the box stores, I see people stand at the light section and are completely confused because of the variety of all the different lights that are out there, but also the fact that there's so much information on each of the little boxes that tells you the story of what their equivalents are or whatever. But then always look at the light output as far as lumens are concerned. And a good rule of thumb is probably if you're purchasing something above 900 lumens, that's probably going to work for you. If you look across the candelabra type of bulbs, the smaller ones and things, you're going to see very low lumens, and they're not, I'll just say that they're not much brighter than a night light. And I highly recommend that you look at 900 and above. So there's sweeping now into the lighting industry, and it's called adaptive lighting. And that's one of the courses that we're going to have at the center, and we're going to have a webinar on it. It's a light system that responds to the environment and determines the brightness, the temperature, and color of light using an occupancy detection and current light levels. you know, in the past we always had motion sensors. We walked into an office or a place, and the person come on. Now, with these controls, with adaptive lighting, it will be able to sense how much outdoor light will be coming in. It will, whether you have another lamp on or what have you, and it'll be able to, you know, adjust itself to you walk into the office or wherever you're going, and the levels will bring it up or down, whichever it might be, to be able to work in that space. It'll be a sensor unit that'll be on a table or so, or an area to be illuminated, and they'll obviously transmit to a microcontroller that will control ceiling-mounted LEDs or even lamps. And it's another term and another thing that's coming, and another reason why we need some try. That said, according to industry findings, intelligent lighting controls, the market's going to double in size by 2.6 billion by 2016, and it's not very far from now. I'll tell you that the controls, that's what's so neat about LEDs, is the fact you control them so well. Here's a neat little object that I love objects, or little trinkets, might say. This will now enable users to control their lighting from their smartphone. So you could be on your couch, or you can be at an airport somewhere and actually control your lights in your living room or your kitchen light or what have you. And I thought that was pretty cool. Here's a residential motion sensor. I would think that kids would just love this. It's a need for electricity when you're not using. The bug plugs are motion sensors. So this kind of emulates the standard motion sensor that you would find installed either on the wall or perhaps in the ceiling. But these are portable, so you can put in all a strip. So there's other things into that, like your computer or what have you, and some things. So that little thing there. Light tanks. Now this is something that my dad probably wished he had whenever I was a kid. This is a power hog, and it has a unique twist. You get coins, and it puts out about 30 minutes of electricity on each coin, probably a quarter. And then the question you would ask your kids, would they play video games all night if they knew it would cost a week's allowance? Yeah, so this is a pretty good deal, too. Residential or commercial also, it's a little eye, you might say. It's pleasing looking. It talks about sometimes forget to turn on the lights. Well, this thing for you once you leave the room. Sense natural sunlight, and it can turn off fans in the morning and turn on night lights at dusk. That's another handy object. There's a term that's coming into the lighting industry too now, is the power over internet, or PoE. This thing describes a standardized system that will pass electrical power along with data on Ethernet cabling, and it will control security cameras, network routers, and lighting controllers. So that's another thing that's coming over internet. So the LED lighting. I've been in this business for many years, and in talking lighting and energy efficiency. And just a few years ago, the industry, as I got feedback, the manufacturers would tell me that LEDs will continue to be a niche market. They weren't ever going to be much more than that, and will never be a full lighting option for sure. And fluorescent and incandescent will dominate. And I just, in God, I knew that that wasn't right. There's too many innovative ideas on the LED side that are coming at us fast and furious to be able to, think that way. But hey, LEDs and bulbs are major market players, and fluorescent and incandescent are being the niche market, so to speak. And that's what's happening, because I stay in touch with about 4 dozen lighting companies every other month or so, and they're telling me that their sales of LED products are about 30% more than fluorescent and incandescent now. So that's a pretty big step. Here's a handy tool. I've done a lot of lighting audits, and this is a handy tool. And if you've got living fluorescent in your office or wherever you might be, in your garage even, you hold that up to it and press the button, and you can tell whether it's, usually it's a T12 with a magnetic ballast, or what's a T8 or T5 with a electronic ballast. Little object, if you're doing a lot of retrofitting in your business, this thing is good to be able to go around and check to make sure that you're getting switched out to electronic ballasts, and they're relatively cheap. I'm always telling everybody, energy efficiency is not risky business. It's one of the least no-brainer things to do, particularly if you've got T12s in your facility. People, my gosh, you need to be looking at the T8s and T5s, and there's also equivalents in the LED side, and really dropping. If you remember, I mentioned the fact that we put LEDs in the barns for the turkeys. It started out at about $81 a piece. Now they're less than $40, and that was about a year and a half's time. So with production and with demand, that's what we're seeing. For anybody who'd like to access the Lighting Research Center's website, I'm at merc.org, and that's my email address there if you have any questions or suggestions, and appreciate it. All right, so I'd like to turn it over to Lita.
And Brian, and good morning, everyone. And on behalf of Act on Energy, I'd really like to extend a thank you to Rick and Brian for the really interesting information they've presented. I think it's great insight into what is happening nationally in terms of the transition from traditional incandescent and fluorescent to LED lighting. I'd like to wrap up this webinar by a few examples of projects that I've done in the Ameren, Illinois territory. I'm going to be showing some product photos, and I know that Rick and Ryan, both of you that I've been showing here are not meant to be endorsements of any kind, but they are intended rather to give an example of the kind of products that are available currently in LED and other energy-saving type devices. The first city I'd like to review was a pizza parlor. They transitioned or converted from incandescent lighting to LED. Incentive provided by Act on Energy was about $2,600. The total project cost was about $5,000. So the incentive in this case covered over half the project cost. The payback projected to be about a year. And we have control.
You should have control. Let me check. Is it problems?
Nothing's happening. Can you go to the next slide for me?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll try to give it back to you in a minute to see if it works.
Okay. These are pictures of the new lighting, the LED lighting that was put into the restaurant. You can see they look pretty much like the standard incandescent lighting, but notice the dramatic drop in energy consumption. Eligibility requirements for a project like this is that the lamps must be Energy Star listed or meet all the criteria you see on the slide. And the incentive provided by Ameren, Illinois Act on Energy is 40 cents per watt reduced. The second, try this. Mary, it's just not working. Could you go ahead and just
okay? Yeah.
For me?
Yep.
My apologies to everyone. Second, I'd like to review is an exterior lighting conversion. This was at a convenience store. They replaced their 400-watt metal halide with LED. The incentive provided was $5,000. The total project cost about $25,000. So in this case, about 20% of the project cost was incentive. A payback of 5.4 years. Okay, Mary. And there are some representations of what the outdoor lighting, the new outdoor lighting looks like, and you can see again dramatic reduction in energy consumption. The eligibility requirements for an exterior lighting project are slightly different. The luminaires must be UL listed and listed either Energy Star or Design Lights Consortium. Now, for those who aren't familiar with Design Lights Consortium, this is a listing agency that basically evaluates and lists product categories of LED lighting that are not covered by Energy Star. So between Energy Star and Design Lights, all product categories of LED lighting are addressed. A manufacturer may choose to list or not list, but the categories are covered by one of those two agencies. And the incentive for an exterior lighting project, thank you, is 40 cents per watt reduced. Okay, next please. The example is freezer case lighting, and this is a really popular LED application because LEDs perform much better than traditional lighting in cold environments. So this was a grocery store that converted their linear fluorescent to LED, and it was about $2,500. Total price cost $15,000 with a project payback of almost 4 years. Mary, thank you. And this is a picture of what a freezer case light looks like. If you've ever seen one, and require that we will only incentivize 5-foot lights, and lights must be listed by Design Lights Consortium. 5-year warranty on LEDs, and the driver is power supply that provides current to the lights, and that must be UL listed. And the incentive is 40 cents per watt reduced. This last example is a little bit different. This was a department store that converted their 24-watt metal halide in their jewelry cases. The incentive was $170, and the projected payback is 40 years. And no, that is not a typo. I wanted to include this example to emphasize that energy savings is an extremely important component of the conversion to LED, but it's not the only component. In the case of jewelry case lighting, Mary, could you advance, please? In the jewelry case lighting, LEDs do a really great job of making the jewelry really sparkly and glittery, and that's help drive sales. So I for sure, but I would highly suspect that the improved performance of LED lighting in jewelry cases was a major factor in the conversion, in addition to the reduced energy. The eligibility requirements for a product like this are 3-year warranty on the driver, UL listing, and listing by either Energy Star or Design Lights. And the cash incentive is 40 cents per watt reduced. So to wrap up, the I'd like to leave everyone with is, as you can tell from Brian and Rick's presentations, the transition to LED is occurring. A well-designed LED product can save lots of money and result in increased lighting performance as well. But LED is a lot different than the incumbent technologies that we're all used to. There are technological parameters that need to be considered in a conversion to LED, and ramifications of the technology and how it's going to impact your particular application, and all needs to be understood so that you can make the best decision for your company. Sun Energy are here to help you with that. So our program allies. Program allies are contractors who have knowledgeable in their technology area, but also are familiar with the Act on Energy program, the incentives, and how to go the application process. And they help you get started and go through the process of LED conversion or any other type of energy saving project that you might be considering. You can find a list of our allies on our website, and that's a screenshot of what the web page looks like. And then we have staff who are available to meet you at your facility, answer your questions about the Act on Energy program, the application process, the incentives. You can see the 7 energy advisors on staff and the territories that they call on. So do not hesitate to call upon them if you might be able to help you. We do have an online store where we offer a select number of LED products. These are available at very low cost with no shipping, and there's no need to go to an application process. The incentive is built into the cost of the product. Kind of a nice way if you're thinking about maybe using LEDs, aren't sure you want to try some products. This is a nice way to do that and kind of see what you think before you make a decision maybe on a large-scale project. And what you have to do is go to the website, which you see on the screen, and place your order. If you contact us, our website, phone number, and email are listed here. In addition, please feel free to call me personally if I can help you with any questions. I'm happy to try and help you get the answers you need. With that, I am going to turn over to Mary. I'd like to thank our presenters again and thank everyone for being on the call. Mary?
Thank you. So thank you, Brian and Rick. Very interesting information about the studies and information about how you can begin to save with LED lighting and different applications for that. So very interesting. So if you do have any questions, please type them into chat and we will get those answered for you. In the meantime, I am going to share this final quiz that I promised you. So once again, this is optional, but if you would like to answer the questions, please do so, and you'll have about a minute. Okay, looks like most of you have submitted your responses. You're fast today. I'm going to go ahead and close this down in 3, 2, 1. And I will share the responses and go over the correct answers with you. So number 1, what percentage of energy savings was achieved by the co-op field trials conducted by NRECA? The answer was D, 50 to 55% energy savings. 2, what is the main goal of the Midwest Lighting Research Center? It's to advance energy efficiency in the Midwest. And 3, what is the amount of incentive from Acton Energy for replacing existing screw-in lamp with a qualified LED lamp? It's 40 cents per watt reduced. Thank you much for participating in the quiz. You guys did a great job. So at this time, we will answer any questions you have. I have a couple things to tell you about while you're submitting any questions, and it looks like we do have a couple of questions. We know about a T12 bonus, 5% bonus, ending on May 31st, so if you do have any T12s left in your facility to replace, we are offering the 5% bonus until May 31st. Oh, you are all invited, Ameren, Illinois customers, business customers, to the 2013 Act on Energy Business Symposium, and that's going to take place May 21st in East Peoria at the Embassy Suites and May 22nd in Collinsville at the Gateway Center. It's a great event where you can learn about energy efficiency in a lot of different areas. And thank you for the presenters to stay on the line. One question we have is, will the presenters' contact information be emailed to the attendees? I am going to send everyone a link to the slides from today's presentation, and their contact information is included on those slides. So you'll be able to go through the presentation and find their email addresses. Another question, are there any restrictions on how to dispose of LEDs? We on restrictions on CLs, and people know about that because of the mercury Does it know of any restrictions or regulations on how to dispose of LEDs?
Ryan, I don't know of any restrictions currently, but I would imagine some in the future. They would probably be similar to how you need to dispose of your television or computer, since there are circuit boards and gold and some other metals in there. But currently, I don't know of any.
Don't know of any either. Each state will probably have its own way of handling hazardous waste, and there's not much in an LED being mercury or anything like that. But one question I had early on when LEDs first came out, of course, you see the aluminum heat sink that's on the bottom, and that easily, I guess, melted back and recycled, and that will probably become an issue or a situation for LEDs in the future. But other than that, the LEDs just don't have enough time on them either. With 70 or 80,000 hours, not crossed that bridge yet for disposal.
That's because they last so long. So that'll be something we'll be probably hearing more about in the coming years. Thank you very much. Let's see any other questions at this time. But I want to thank everyone very much for joining us today. Thank you to our presenters. If you do have any questions, please feel free to contact Act on Energy, and here, or go to the website, and you can find all our contact information there as well. And feel free to ask any questions anytime. That concludes today's webinar. Thank you all very much. Have a great day and be safe out there.